Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Dudes in the Trenches podcast.
Hi, I'm going to try to not chew on the mic while I finish my my breakfast here.
Nice.
And I do mean breakfast. I just woke up like an hour ago.
Yeah, we're all scrambling to get the show in. Very nice. Love that.
It is a weird time of year when you have to go to a midnight shift right before the holidays.
Yeah.
Makes it fun for everybody. So
I'm sure, especially your wife and children.
yeah,
They love that so much. In addition to it being almost holiday season, it is very nearly the time for bowl games. We have bowl games starting this coming Saturday, which is also Army-Navy game day, which is pretty unusual. Doesn't normally overlap like that. Normally we get a little bit of a break in between. Army-Navy gets its own day. It's not the case this year. We have two bowl games on the same day as Army-Navy.
It's kind of weird to me that they've destroyed the sanctity of Army-Navy this year.
There's no sanctity left anywhere in college football.
That's true. That's why we got
fucking Tar Heels.
Yeah, that's why we got teams in California competing in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
That's why Northern Illinois is still mulling the decision to join the Mountain West. So, I love those Northern Illinois mountains.
Yeah, it's very hilly over there. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But we do have matchups set for every bowl game this season, which means we can go ahead and preview all of the bowl games. We will do that in this episode because it's practically bowl season. It's also practically holiday season, as we've said like 3-4 times now. Which means this is our last show for a minute, is my real point there. I don't know why I said that the worst possible way.
Yeah, just beating around the bush for as long as you possibly could there. But I understand it.
Sure was trying. Bush was beat to hell. All right. So this is our last show for 3 weeks. Maybe 4 weeks. We will be back on the 7th/8th of January. One of those, whenever the most of us are free. So that we can preview the semifinal games and then get back to the swing of things for the national championship. So, we have to preview a whole bunch of bowl games. This is actually what's going on here. This does mean we will miss a round of the playoff. It does mean we will miss a round, I think 2 rounds of the FCS playoffs. We might miss the national championship, the FCS individual podcast wise. But we will be posting our picks for those games still in the Discord, on X, wherever Bug can manage getting them.
Yeah, I'll get them up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. They'll definitely be on the Discord as well. And then who knows? Maybe if we're feeling froggy, we got a little extra time, we might type a little something out. It's kind of with just our thoughts, maybe a sentence or two on why we're going a certain direction or what impressed us from a game that a team won we didn't expect. Whatever the case might be.
That's way more than I committed to, so you're probably not getting that from me.
I think you'll probably talk about the games a bit in Discord, I would imagine.
Most likely. So join the Discord if you want the most content possible. One place you will definitely not find us is Blue Sky. So good luck if you see someone there.
I might make a Blue Sky just to see how quickly I can get us banned.
It will be the same day. over under on 2 hours.
2 hours? All right, bet. I'm making a Blue Sky account for BD2 when we get off of here.
I don't know what's going on, and now I'm concerned.
Well, what you missed is that we are getting straight into the rules to talk about how our pick'em is going. Slide update for the playoff / bowl game edition here. Really, it only applies to the playoffs. But, Doug, take it away.
Yeah, so brackets and individual games are both counted. We're making brackets before the playoffs start, and then we have to stick with that bracket the entire way through. So even if our all of our teams get knocked out in the first round, that just means we lost all of those games for the rest of the bracket. But we're also picking the individual games as they happen. So if we do get knocked out like that, we're still able to make picks and talk about the games. Both will count. We cannot change the bracket after it starts, but obviously we can still make picks, which does mean inherently you're allowed to pick against your own bracket if you want to. It does mean you're guaranteeing yourself at least one loss there. Well, exactly one loss there. But
at least
Also
preseason
guaranteeing a
brackets
point.
don't count.
Well, kind of and kind of not. So we didn't write this into the rules because we just came up with it like 2 days ago. But we are going to be looking at our preseason bracket for the 12-team playoff, and we will be getting points for how many teams we got correct who made the field. I haven't.
We can take a big negative on at least one of mine.
You think?
Yeah.
Not
going to
be your national champion.
I forgot about that, and
yeah.
I'm glad I forgot about it. Black that out of my memory real quick.
Yeah. Well, we won't be counting points like every week. Like the further our picks go, we'll get more points in our preseason bracket. It's just the one time we'll look at them this episode and forget about them again. Because it was worth forgetting for you.
They're worth. Yeah, I earned the biggest worth forgetting.
Oh man. So if that sounds complicated, it's not. Watch the show. You'll figure it out. Also, if you have further questions, join the Discord. Here's the standings before
I don't like
conference
this anymore.
championship week. I do have a 3-game lead over Tug heading into conference championship week, which was this past weekend. And Bug got bumped up a little bit. I recognized a math error. And I know exactly what happened and when it happened, which means it's been wrong for 2 weeks. But it's fine. It's fixed now. Plus 13 to Bug, actually.
Yeah.
Huge error. Which means he is within striking distance of everybody. And it's disturbing.
Good news. We are all above 600.
Yes.
We kind of know what we're talking about. Only kind of.
I didn't think I'd get back there. But,
well, you weren't going to, but that's because Doug was holding 13 games away from you.
13 wins from me.
If we were playing in Major League Baseball, we would all be signing Juan Soto contracts today.
Oh, I wish.
So starting us off with Conference USA Championship, because we haven't talked about these games yet.
This wasn't a game.
Yeah, that's fair. We all said the Gamecocks were going to take revenge.
And they did.
Slap them, if you will.
Probably didn't try that hard in the last week of the season because they'd already clinched their spot and then got to see Western Kentucky in back-to-back weeks and beat them by 40.
Yeah, and I think it really just comes down to Western Kentucky had to give them their best shot the week prior. So what were they going to pull out against Jacksonville State in this one? We all picked them. I think we all saw it coming.
They picked out a big fat L. That's what they picked out.
From the big fat cock. Moving on.
Looks closer on the scoreboard. Didn't feel all that much closer. In reality, Boise State wipes the field with UNLV. Showed Haj Malik Williams where the blue turf was. I'm sure he will never forget it now.
Oh my God. My favorite thing about that game was every time he got sacked or threw an interception, they pulled up the Google Earth zoom in to show him he got sacked in Boise because he had said he could not find Boise State on a map or Boise on a map.
And I also love that this game is sponsored by Old Trapper now. The Beef Jerky Championship is real.
Send it.
Gotta love it. And, a little bit of credit to UNLV here. A team that lost their quarterback due to some NIL shenanigans at the beginning of the year. They looked unstoppable. And then they didn't miss a beat. Carried that momentum all the way here. Boise State, I think, is just a wagon. I also think that, they got that number 4 ranking in the college football playoff, and a lot of people are upset about it. But I think they're wholly deserving of it.
Yeah.
And We'll see how it actually
They've got
works
that.
out for them once this bye comes through. Once the bye week's over and they get to play probably number 5.
They got that wagon on them. Boise got that dumpy. Also, UNLV just lost their head coach. He's going to be the new head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers.
It is crazy seeing how far Memphis assistant coaches go as far as head coaching gigs, and then former Memphis head coaches suck ass when they leave the University of Memphis.
Moving right along, American Football Championship game here. I thought Tulane was going to put up more of a fight, and then it was snowing in New York, and Army does better in that than a team from New Orleans. Who would have thought?
Their
Crazy
offense
dog.
is also better designed for it too.
No shit.
No shit.
Best news for Tulane after the past couple of weeks, John Summerall is not leaving after a single season. He will be staying with Tulane on a restructured deal. Apparently was a finalist for the North Carolina job until he re-signed with Tulane, and then they went with Bill Belichick.
Not
Wild.
what I had on my 2025 bingo card. We're going to start counting 2025 bingo cards, and did not have Bill Belichick returning to college football on it.
You can't cash that in early.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got 3 weeks left, dude.
He's not
Don't put that
officially
evil on me.
signed until the new season, so
That is incorrect. He's signed.
is he
as of,
coaching
like,
in their bowl
first.
game?
So, no.
All right, then. Doesn't
As
count.
far as I know. I don't know. Actually, probably not.
Scott Frost was signed with Oklahoma. Just saying. Anyway, I think we probably could have seen this coming with Tulane. Maybe they were a bit of a paper tiger here all season, just going back and looking at things. Prior to playing Memphis, their best opponent would have to be Louisiana, and that was a close game for them, 41-33. They handled the rest.
Louisiana is pretty good.
Well, and that's my point. That was their best opponent. You could argue Navy could have been, but Navy fell off a cliff so hard. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen come bowl season for Tulane, and I'm a little disappointed we're not going to get to see Army in the college football playoff, but that was a pipe dream and all but blown up, especially after they lost to Notre Dame.
Did I miss?
Well.
Sorry, I think we might have messed up in the slides, boys. Did I miss a game, or did I pick it and not know?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
Do we have the Army Navy game in the slide deck?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so I picked it and didn't know. Copy. Forgot.
Moving right along. Big 12 championship game was not a game again.
I tried to use my logic with the Big 12. I actually wanted Arizona State to win, but I took that to mean that they would not win.
Here's the best part about Big 12 logic. It doesn't apply to Iowa State.
It doesn't
Iowa State
apply
gets
to the
their
Big
own
12.
set of
Like
logic.
Big 12 logic is no logic. Really, what this would have been.
That.
I also realized if I picked Arizona State, we would have been skunked here.
Well, correct.
Except I took one for the team.
That it's Iowa State. And Iowa State gets its own Iowa State logic as opposed to Big 12 logic, as opposed to real logic.
I took one for the team here. I'm going to put that down. Arizona State, absolutely stellar season. Definitely a large leap forward from where they were. And honestly, an equivalent, if not better, conference than they were last year because the SEC or the Pac-12 was not great last year.
Wow.
Wild. Yeah, I know. We all hate on Pac-12 after dark. Copy. Press.
The bigger story here is
their champion made the national championship last year, and you're saying the conference was shit. And then Arizona State comes in, expected to finish last in the Big 12, and fucking wins the thing. Wow, that's
and a former Pac-12 team won the Big Ten. Former Pac-12 team won the Big Ten easily.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, was not super impressed by the Pac-12 last year.
Of course you weren't, because you didn't watch it. We all know this. You haven't watched it for years, which is why they're all in different conferences and winning those conferences now. Fucking Utah went to the SEC instead of the Big 12. They'd be SEC champs. Cam Rising wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Cam Rising would have played more than 2 weeks.
Cam Rising's going to play in college again next year. I think the big thing here for for Iowa State is Rocco Becht. They've got to do something to protect him. He's got the talent. I don't know if maybe the moment got to him early and then he just got hit around after that. He's a young guy. He'll be back next year, hopefully still with Iowa State.
He will
and,
be.
This is going to be a good team for a while, I think.
Iowa State. And so is Matt Campbell, who was signed an 8-year extension.
Perfect.
Mac logic did apply.
Correct. The team who lost by 10 comes back in the championship and wins by 35 the next time they meet.
That's not the Mac logic I'm talking about. I'm talking about the way I picked this game is I went back and saw who won the Mac last year and chose the other team.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a solid strategy. we had actually gone to Paw Patrol Live, and then we're like, oh well, we'll go. We took my youngest son, and we're like, oh well, let's go to the train restaurant. So food comes down. There's train tracks. It's got carts, and it drops the food down to you. It's cool. We get in, the TV's on, and I'm like, I mean, who else in this establishment cares about the MAC championship? I'm looking around, like, nobody. And so I pull up on my phone. I was like, surely the other game, and it was the Big 12 championship game. So I'm like, surely people care more about the Big 12 championship. I guess not. That game sucks too. So 2 blowouts going on at the same time. Wild. This is the one that we got to watch. Miami had no shot in this one.
Which is crazy considering that they were the better team all season.
All year.
Just Mac things happened.
Mac things happened.
And the Pepsi SWAC football championship game, first year they're sponsored by Pepsi. Jackson State handled their business. This was a game for a quarter and a half.
Unfortunately, there's 4 quarters in football.
Correct.
Southern was a surprising team multiple times throughout the year, but they definitely just got out-talented in this one. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, they got outlasted more than anything. They were coaching, honestly, was phenomenal for Southern. To be in the game for the entire first half, essentially, with an obviously faster and stronger team, it's really hard to do.
Yep.
So, big shout out to the Jaguars of Southern. But yeah, this was going to be the Tigers all the way.
Wild game.
Closest game of the weekend, Georgia goes to overtime to knock off Texas for the second time this year. It was the closest game of the weekend. Does not mean it was the best game of the weekend. As a matter of fact, both offenses sucked really bad.
Yeah, Texas could not get into a rhythm to save their life.
Anyway. Yeah. Nobody could catch a pass.
No.
And people forgot how to block.
Carson Beck got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia won this game with a backup quarterback. You would think that would have knocked them out of the playoff based on last year.
Yeah.
But, maybe give that spot to Alabama instead. But didn't happen.
SMU. Well, no, it can't knock them out because they won the championship. If they did lose it, that would have knocked them out. But based on their commitment,
Florida State won last year.
That wasn't their commitment last year. This year's commitment is your top 3 or your big 4 get an auto bid, and that's why we have Clemson.
The point.
No, I get you. I get you. I'm playing the college football playoff committee.
And really, your Power 4 almost fucked it up. If Clemson would have been ranked lower, there would have been a very real argument for Army to come in. Yes. I call them Navy, and that feels gross, but also it's hilarious to me. So I'm not going to spend too much time lingering on that.
Yeah, I bet they really enjoy that.
Yeah, if they're listening. So I'm really curious what's going to be the story of this Georgia football team in the playoff, and we can talk about it more later. But missing Carson Beck and back-to-back overtime games, one against a very lowly ACC team. Rivalry, I get it, sure. But then Texas is right there with you compared to how you beat the shit out of them the first time. I don't know. Maybe they're starting to figure Georgia out.
So Georgia, the first game really wasn't as impressive as everyone made it out to be. Texas just couldn't hold on to the ball in that first game. This most recent game,
Neither of them could hold on to the ball.
no, in the
this
first
time.
basically what I'm saying is Georgia's offense performed the same way in both games. They really didn't move the ball efficiently. It's just in the first game they had much better field position to where they were pretty much scoring points on every drive because they were already in scoring position. This game they had to fight for it, and that's why it's a lot closer.
Either way, ass.
Should have trusted the
Sun Belt Conference Championship goes to the Marshall Thundering Herd, who then proceeded to not re-sign their head coach. And Charles Huff is now the head coach of the Sun Belt's worst team, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Wild. Marshall then had a head coach like the same day that was announced. So it feels like this was a little bit pre-planned. I don't know the whole story. Really weird. But Marshall's Sun Belt champs with a new head coach.
Love it.
And not because the guy got promoted, but because they just decided not to keep the champion coach. Really weird.
Yeah, make it make sense, please. Looking ahead to next year. Yeah. Looking ahead to next year, they don't have their conference schedule lined up yet. But good God in heaven, please have Marshall and Southern Miss play each other. I want to see that revenge game
2-3 times.
Yes.
Hawaii style.
Let's see it once, and they still do conference or divisions. We won't see it in the championship. Damn.
Let's do a home and home in the season, and then have one of those, and then do a third matchup between them in Hawaii, which is technically allowed by NCAA rules if you do it in Hawaii,
so to speak.
The Big Ten champion is Oregon.
This game was much better than I expected, but also James Franklin can't coach in big games.
And it was also basically a 2-touchdown game, except for a garbage time score by Penn State. So congrats to the Pac-12 for winning the Big Ten and the Big 12 this year.
Proud of you. And like I said, former Memphis assistant coaches going on doing great things as head coaches. Oregon,
Is that true? Dan Lanning was a Memphis guy?
Yep. Special teams, I want to say, for Mike Norvell.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. It's a fun
inside linebackers.
Okay. It was a specialized coach. There you go.
Yeah. Fair.
I don't know. I don't remember if I didn't have Oregon as my national champion. They're going to potentially replay Ohio State or Penn State in this playoff. And I think that's a
bad draw.
That's the only chance I think anybody has of knocking them off this year, is if they're getting a second crack at them. And even then, man, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Oregon's very fallible. I mean, they almost got beat by Idaho in the first week of the season. It was a field goal game against Boise State, 1-point game against Ohio State. There were some lucky fucking breaks for Oregon this year. So this is the biggest win Oregon's had this season, in my opinion. Like the most dominant, most complete win. It still ended up being a one-possession game at the end against a Penn State team I have no confidence in to do anything right ever. So I don't really have a whole lot of expectation of a national championship for this Oregon team. I would not be surprised if they come out of the bye week and lose to either Ohio State or Tennessee. They think way too highly of themselves, and I think it's going to catch up to them.
Yes, they do. 100% they think too highly of themselves. Our final championship game, this one was the best championship game of the weekend.
Yes.
SMU had to come all the way back to tie this one up, and special teams, they were special for Clemson. Amazing kickoff return. Hey, if he gets down, if he has to down it or gets downed on their side of the 50, maybe Dabo's content. All right, cool, we're going to take a knee and take it to overtime. They are in good position, run one pass play, get the timeout, kick the game-winning field goal as time expired. Absolutely.
56 yards.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful win for Clemson here. nothing for SMU to hang their hat about. A lot of people upset that SMU made the college football playoff after losing this game.
They still
They
should
didn't
have.
watch this game. They didn't watch SMU all season. They're mad that Alabama isn't in there, that the SEC darling isn't in there. And thank God for that.
Yeah, it would have been a really bad look for the first year of the 12-team playoff for them to just say, if you lose the conference championship game, that's worse than not playing in it, actually. So,
yeah, that's worse than losing to two unranked teams by multiple scores.
Yeah.
And we got Dabo. We got dabbed on by Dabo. We all took the Mustangs. And in fairness, we almost fucking nailed it.
Yeah, but that's disturbing. Please remove that from my screen. Okay. Moving on to the FCS playoffs this past weekend. Bracket view first. Looks like you did pretty well, Bug. I see 2 X's this past weekend. You had SEMO over UC Davis, and you had Villanova over Incarnate Word, which definitely did not happen, either of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, SEMO wasn't even playing, so,
Yeah.
Not a great start there. But otherwise, I mean, it's looking pretty good. I've got, almost all of my Elite 8 correct here, so I'll take that.
Moving on, I only had 1 incorrect. I had a Richmond team that didn't make it out of the first round, somehow making it all the way to this point of the season, which definitely didn't happen. If you can't tell, the actual quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs are just the top 8 seeds. Like pretty much chalk playoffs so far. I think the only upset. No, were there 2 upsets? Lehigh over Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was it.
That was it.
Called it.
That was it.
You did call that one. But if we flip to your bracket, you also
did not call Rhode Island again and did not call a second Lehigh upset.
Yeah.
That's okay. Honestly, still overall pretty good looking at this.
Right.
I'm fairly happy with it.
Yeah, nothing to be ashamed about there.
Biggest thing for me is any of the games I've gotten wrong, I only had them going one more round anyway. It's not like they carried through the bracket.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you and Bug both, I think your top 4 in your brackets are just the top 4 seeds of this playoff.
There's the top 4 seeds, a gap, and then about everybody else.
See, you're probably right. But if we flip back to my bracket real quick.
Yeah, you got Mercer. That's the only difference.
I do have an upset in there, which would be insane. And I know everybody's going to think I'm nuts for having Mercer beat North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome.
Yeah. I don't think it's nuts.
It's technically possible. I'm hanging on to it.
And my only fear is that if the moment gets too big for Mercer, and I think partially you did this too because you don't want to see a Dakota Market rematch. But
actually, no. I actually did this because I really love Mercer this year, and I'm rooting for them hard.
That's valid.
I don't think they'll be able to do it twice in a row, which is why I have them losing the next week to South Dakota State. But one huge upset in there would be very nice.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that a lot.
So let's look at our actual picks here. Nothing crazy. We all went with what our brackets had. South Dakota State knocking off Montana 35-18.
In the rematch of last year's championship game, and it looked a lot like last year's championship game.
It did.
Which is wild because this Montana team is far worse than last year's national championship championship team. So then we had Incarnate Word and Villanova. I stuck with Villanova. I stuck to my guns. I thought maybe they could get a little bit of a boost going into this one.
Villanova does this all year. They love to play every game as close as physically possible. It was still a 7-point game, but yes, Incarnate Word was the better team.
And then Mercer and Rhode Island. Tug, I appreciate the hometown bias here, but Mercer
it doesn't happen often. I gotta run into it, and honestly, a 7-point game, I'm not upset with it.
I understand.
Yeah, and I've been saying it. Tug's been saying it. We've been waiting for this Mercer drop off all year, and it hasn't shown up. man, this Mercer team really could do something special.
Let's pay attention to this upcoming weekend.
I wouldn't call it a drop-off against a good opponent, though.
Depends on the score.
Montana State continues to do what they've done all year, winning 49-17 over UT Martin.
Wow.
And then we have North Dakota State beating Abilene Christian 51-31. That's an insane score.
Even crazier, though, is that Abilene Christian got off to an insanely hot start. North Dakota State had to come back in this one and then let Abilene Christian feel like they were doing something right and kind of coming back in this one themselves at the end there. I mean, it ended up being a 20-point game, but this was Abilene, North Dakota State, and then a little bit of Abilene. Just weird order of events there.
Next up, we had South Dakota beating up on Tarleton State. This was only an 11-point victory for them, 42-31. But South Dakota, when they're at home, they're a pretty tough beat.
This was a much closer game than 11 points. I know 11 points not that big of a spread, but this was a very intense game. South Dakota very easily could have lost this one.
And then I rode with Illinois State, and y'all went with UC Davis, who did win 42-10. I thought Illinois State, hey, they already tested their mettle going to Cape Girardeau and beating up on SEMO the week prior, despite being the home team. I thought, hey, maybe there's a chance that we can do that again, get a little more juice out of this here. That was not the case. UC Davis making a case for, proving me wrong. I kind of been doubting them all year. This was a great win for them.
This is UC Davis head coach Tim Plow's first season with the Aggies. Kind of like with Mercer, they have a new head coach this year. Feels like a different squad already. So maybe some big impact from Tim Plow and from Mike Johnson, respectively.
And then last but not least, Tug, you went against your bracket here, and you took Idaho, which is good because if you'd have gone with your bracket and taken Lehigh, you'd have been wrong. It was 34-13 Idaho. We all took the Vandals in our picks here, so we were green across the board on that one. Yeah, the Kibbe Dome is a hard place for anybody to win, so especially when Idaho is clearly the better team. That's it? Nothing?
That's it. Moving right along. We once again have a tie for second place on the week. Both Bug and Tug going 20-6 on the week, which means I win 22-4.
I win.
I felt so good going through this, man. I was like, yeah, I got it. So close, but yet so far.
Yeah, and Ohio State didn't play this past weekend, so I felt nothing. Which means this is our This is our new standings after Conference Championship week. I am now 5 games ahead of Tug.
And 28 games ahead of me, so I think you got me. I think you're safe.
No, you and bowl season is different. We haven't forgotten.
And we will see bowl season here. I am on my own for a lot of these picks. It is a scary place.
Not with me, though. I don't think you're on your own with me on that many. I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway.
We do have some other business to get to today, though.
Yeah.
If you have a Spotify account like normal humans, Tug.
Gentleman had to stop paying for 2 music services.
So you stopped paying for Apple Music and forced her to use Spotify. Congratulations.
Yeah, you stopped paying for the good one, and you kept paying for the worst one. Wild decision.
It's what the family wanted.
But Bug here, top artist is Good Charlotte. He was in the 0.0001% of top listeners for Good Charlotte, I think.
Yeah, I have a problem.
And top song is a little bit
Fuck, that's loud.
Beautiful.
And top song is not Good Charlotte.
It's not Good Charlotte. It's Timmy Trumpet, Narco. It's a great pump-up song. We're just not going to play a ton of it so we don't get a copyright strike.
Yeah, very loud. Very loud.
It's extremely loud.
And then I was a big fan of
Turn it
Nothing
down
More
here a
this
little
year. My top song was House on Sand.
I'm a patient, going ape shit. I'm a four star in the cycle and I've been baptized.
I was in the top 0.008% of listeners for this song, which is pretty good.
I am amazed that it didn't make my top 5. I think it was like 10 or 15. Like it was for sure within the top 15 on my top songs this year. I was very surprised not to see it on my top 5. It is an absolute banger.
Also crazy that I'm only at 20,000 minutes on Spotify now because I do so much listening on everywhere else. Wild.
And we
I
didn't
pay
have
for multiple services. It
Yeah,
is
but you're
possible,
single.
Tug. And then Tug is Apple Music guy.
Volume.
So we found a good song for Tug that we figured he would appreciate.
Illegals in my yard. Illegals in my yard.
Yeah, this is Tug's top
Illegals
song.
in my yard.
For
Is it my
sure.
top song or my
Quesos and
dog's?
They work so hard. Illegals in my yard.
And here's the best thing. I don't
Illegals
think
in
we
my
get a
yard.
copyright strike for this because it's AI.
Illegals in my
So,
yard. I don't
feel
even
comfortable
ask
just letting
if
this
they
one
got
play.
a green card. They're gonna pave up my driveway this Christmas. They're gonna clean.
All right. We have.
Did
We're going a
somebody
little bit
change
out of-
my pick?
No, you forgot
didn't
to
pick.
put something in.
So you picked Air Force. That's how this works.
That's
If
true.
you-
We win.
We're going a little bit out of order in this show because Army Navy deserves its own spot, which means we're talking about that first. And then we'll get in the FCS, and then we'll do all of bowl season. So we've been going perfectly chronologically, even by time of the game, for like every game this season. We're changing it up starting with this game because Army Navy deserves to be talked about first. It's awesome. It's a great time. This game will be in Landover, Maryland. This is also how I found out that it's no longer FedEx Field. It's Southwest Stadium now, or Northwest Stadium, whatever the hell. That's the Washington Commanders Stadium. That's the new name this year. I didn't even know that. I still thought it was FedEx Field. Just assumed, I guess.
FedEx tried real hard to get their name off of that stadium after everything that had gone down.
I don't blame them.
100%.
Literally all of this shit that had gone down. They tried to get their name off that stadium.
But this will be the winner of this game will get the Commander-in-Chief's trophy this year because they both beat the shit out of Air Force.
Yet
Yeah.
after the Army game, Air Force went undefeated. Look, Air Force really turned their
Yes.
season around. If you guys let me go, I'm absolutely going to turn the narrative on this and talk about Air Force because I hate Troy Calhoun.
You know, because you love him so much, want to keep him for the next 10 years. That was such a defeated look in your eyes.
I hate it. I
It's
hate
just
it.
beautiful how they went from trying to pass the ball a little bit more like Army and Navy have been doing this year and went back to, we're just going to run the triple option, and their success
And it
just
worked.
fucking
And
skyrocketed.
it worked.
But don't you always
Oh,
talk
wait.
about they need to pass the ball more? They need to not be afraid to throw it?
No, that's not what I say. What I say is they need to be aggressive with less than 2 minutes on the clock. My complaint has always been that Troy will just knee the ball down with
Which
a minute
is
on
a
the
better
clock with 3
strategy than them
timeouts.
putting the ball in the air, clearly.
The
Mhm.
the other thing that changed in the latter half of the season is Troy Calhoun started starting the sophomore, not the senior, who could not play football.
I mean, none of them can play football. That's why they're Air
That's why
Force.
they're the
That's why they
academy.
run ball.
But yeah, I'm picking Army. Look, Navy kind of fell apart at the end of the year. Bryson Daly is one of my Heisman finalists, if we're being real. What he did with Army's offense this year is incredible and should have been recognized. Army should have been in the playoffs. Fuck Clemson.
Yeah, I agree. I will also throw out here, I think the book kind of got out on Navy. You know, they started off the season against some pretty
Yeah.
weak opponents, threw all their chips on the table to beat Memphis early in the year, and then we're just kind of riding that momentum again, going against some weaker competition. And really, once everything was out there, Tulane handled them no problem. Notre Dame beat the absolute shit out of them. I don't, even Rice beat them. I don't think that Navy's bag of tricks was as deep as they thought it was, and they certainly didn't have the talent.
Didn't their
really
quarterback
compete.
get hurt too?
Yes, they finished the season with a different quarterback.
You tell me a Rice fried this Navy?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going with Black Knights. Tug's going with the Air Force Falcons to win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy out of nowhere.
Look. If Army wins this, that's a win for Air Force, and therefore Air Force wins.
Really, as long as the Navy doesn't win.
I want this to turn into a WWE event and just have Pat McAfee on the sideline yelling, "Holy shit, is that Air Force's music?" And they paratroop in the entire football team on the middle of the field and disrupt the game and just take the ball, run into some end zone somewhere, and claim the trophy and run away.
I'm in. Sold.
They do
and then Troy Calhoun gets a lifetime extension.
No. Hold on, though. We're not talking about it. Who wins the uniform battle this year in this game? Because they are both sick.
That is fair. I didn't put the pictures of the uniforms in the slides this year, in part because I thought Navy's didn't look as good, and I thought they didn't try that hard.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, we'll slap a Jolly Roger on here. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
there is a meaning behind it for one of their units. I forget what it is.
Yeah, fuck that unit.
I don't know if you can say that on the air.
You 100% can say that on the air. What are you talking about?
I just did. It already happened. Oh, wait, it's Navy. Should have been suck that unit.
There you go. That's better.
So real quick, just a couple quick images here. Army, they've got the Screaming Eagle for the airborne. They're going with the all black. You see
Battle of the Bulge this year, isn't it?
Yep, big Bastogne patch. And then, yeah, like we said, they've got a Jolly Roger. And
and it's like you tried something weird with the pants stripe, but it doesn't really go that well, I don't think. It's kind of at a weird angle. The only thing you have going on with this uniform, it's white, and then you have a Jolly Roger on the side of the helmet.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not as cool as it has been in past years.
Yeah, and it might snow, so you might win the camouflage battle this time, just like Army has done in the past. That's the best you got going for you.
That is true. Still taking the Black Knights.
Yep, same. No change.
Let's go, Falcons.
These are the brackets that we've already looked at, because in case you forgot, we are almost all taking the top 4 seeds to advance to the semifinals, only exception being me having Mercer moving along there. And then for the individual game picks, we're sticking true to form on Friday, at least. Idaho at Montana State. We're all going with the Bobcats. Now, interesting thing before I let you guys loose, these two teams did play earlier this year, as most of us will remember. It was 38-7 Montana State. Idaho was playing their third string quarterback.
That means it'll be a closer game for me. Montana State still wins.
When Jack Lane is in, Idaho has been a very scary team to the point where it was a field goal game against the number 1 team in the FBS Playoffs very beginning of the season. Idaho has a shot here when they're all healthy. It is playoff Montana State, though.
Yeah, that's still Montana State.
All right.
I think of anything, it's still Montana State's game to lose.
Especially being at Montana State as well.
I agree. Incarnate Word at South Dakota State. Now, this is the second time these two teams have ever played each other in the history of both programs. The previous time they played each other was earlier this season in the best non-conference game of the year, where South Dakota State did win 45-24, and we are picking the Jackrabbits to win probably about that handily yet again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and if the weather today up here in South Dakota is any indication of what they're going to get, UIW is going to get smacked in the face with some snow. The cold weather is finally sitting in here in South Dakota, and look, they're at home. They're in Brookings. This is the Jackrabbits game all day. I can see Incarnate Word putting up a fight, but like we just said about Montana State, this is playoff South Dakota State, which is already a different beast in and of itself.
And then the two games that I think are going to be the closest, which means that I went against my own bracket in two consecutive picks here. UC Davis at South Dakota. In the bracket, I have the Coyotes. In the individual game pick, I have the Aggies. I'll let you guys go first on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story for both of these next two games. I do think I've been underestimating UC Davis all year, and I will fully admit that. But I think the edge and advantage of playing in a dome at home in the playoffs can never be understated. And I think that's where South Dakota is going to take their advantage here and be able to take care of business against UC Davis.
There's also, and take it for what you will, discount it or not, don't care. I kind of look at this too. Playoff experience is a big thing, and deep playoff runs and deep playoff experience is another factor. UC Davis has been going to the playoffs, but they haven't been making these deep runs that South Dakota and North Dakota State have. Both of these teams are at home. They understand what it takes to get the job done. I expect them to go ahead and get the job done.
South Dakota State, sure. South Dakota, absolutely not. This is the deepest South Dakota has been in the playoffs. Will grant you UC Davis has taken a while to get here as well. But this is Tim Plow's first year, as I've already said in the show. And UC Davis looks different to me. I also get my favorite players in the matchup if I'm taking UC Davis. Lan Larison is one of my favorite FCS running backs. You know how much I love random running backs. Lan Larison is not random.
Almost as
He's
much
phenomenal.
as random linebackers.
And then quarterback Miles Hastings is legitimately phenomenal. I don't have that kind of quarterback play out of the Coyotes. They make up for it with a lot of different options when they try to run the ball and a tight end that is damn near unguardable. At the same time, is that enough to get past what has been a surprisingly good UC Davis defense? First time I feel like I've ever been able to say that. So I know it's at home for the Coyotes. I'm split on this one. I think it's going to be very close.
And I get that. And because of those feelings, you're protecting yourself. I get it.
Then we move on to Mercer at North Dakota State. And this will be the first ever meeting between the two teams, but not the first ever meeting of North Dakota State and the SoCon champion in the playoffs. North Dakota State has knocked out the SoCon champion several times in this round of the playoffs in their history. Here's the thing. It's never been Mercer. Never had to play Mercer this deep. And also, here's my actual reasoning why I think this might be a game. We've been talking about it all year. The best part of this Mercer team is the defense. The only thing I ever trust to travel for any team is the defense. So if we get the best part of Mercer in the Fargo Dome, affecting the crowd noise early to let their offense cook a little bit, that offense has risen to the occasion too many times for me to count them out. So I think Mercer has a real shot. It is in the Fargo Dome. So I'm splitting my vote here.
Like I said, I get it. You're protecting yourself.
I just think the Fargo Dome is too much of an advantage for me to want to split it. But I agree completely with everything you're saying about Mercer and how they have performed up to this point in the season. I just know what North Dakota State does in the playoffs, especially when they get to play at home.
It's fair.
Specifically, North Dakota State has eliminated a SoCon champion 6 different times. since 2011 in the
in the
playoffs.
Fargo Dome. And this is where SoCon champs go to die. The Fargo Dome.
Wild. Absolutely wild. But that is the FCS quarterfinals. We will have the semifinals up on X and Facebook and Instagram and Discord when they happen, because we're not going to have a show in between then and now. But what we will have is a bunch of bowl games. And I've made a nice little calendar for us to just, show everybody how this is all going to play out here. Every single bowl game this season is on this calendar, including the playoff matchups. First round of the playoffs is the 20th and 21st, with one game on the 20th. The only bowl games on the 21st are 3 different playoff games. The most condensed bowl day of this entire bowl season is the 28th of December. We have 8 different bowl games.
A lot of football.
We get a little break on Christmas Day, but we're right back at it for basically a full week of football. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
The traditional New Year's 6 bowl games, not exactly going to be New Year's 6 anymore. There will be a New Year's 4 of sorts rotating there. The Verbo Fiesta Bowl on the 31st. And then on the 1st of January, we have the Peach, Rose, and Sugar Bowls. Those will be our quarterfinals. The semifinals will be rotated among most of those bowl games. This year, the semifinals are the Orange and Cotton Bowls, which will be on the 9th and 10th. We will be back with a show before the semifinal games. The only game of those 6 that will not rotate between quarter and semifinals is the Rose Bowl. They didn't want to move the parade.
So that's fair.
I appreciate that. Of all the changes that we continue to make in college football, the fact that we're not going to touch the Rose Bowl, I am 100% okay with that. Staying
it is the granddaddy
forever.
Yep.
Not anymore. It's not the granddaddy of them all anymore. And as you can see, we also have on the 7th or 8th, we'll figure it out as we get closer. That's when we plan on doing our next show. And certainly we'll do some type of college championship preview, depending on schedules and everything. I don't want to say anything too crazy, but who knows? Maybe if you're bored, you can watch us talk about it instead of whatever fucking coach.
Everyone else talking about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm not going to commit to that, but we'll see what happens on the 20th. At the very least, we'll be going off in Discord and Twitter.
But before we even get to the semifinals or that national championship on the 20th of January, we have a big old slate of bowl games. And if you go back just a second, one of those little logos there, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I'm very excited for Bill Belichick taking over as head coach of North Carolina.
Oh, my God.
Because it is very possible we could see Bill Belichick get doused in mayonnaise.
I don't like seeing anybody doused in mayonnaise. It's disgusting.
Oh, my God. Can I change my favorite bowl games now? I need to change it.
You got to stop just liking what I hate.
I might have to change a pick. I don't remember who I picked for this one. I might have to change a pick.
He won't be coaching. Also, North Carolina's not even in the Duke's Mayo Bowl this year. I'm just saying it's theoretically possible next year.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't ask for
would be sensational. All right, so let's dive into the first bowl game of bowl season at noon this coming Saturday. Jackson State, South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl. You guys are going against the tide of his in a big way here.
I understand the MEAC always wins this game. And I fall in this trap every year. The issue is Jackson State is so much better than South Carolina State this year. That has been true.
That's true.
That has been true in the past as well. Sometime it's going to change. It's going to be this year, Jackson State.
Jackson State has never won the Celebration Bowl. South Carolina State has never lost a Celebration Bowl.
Traditions have to
and the
change.
MEAC has only ever lost one time. I'm going with South Carolina State here, and I really do think the Bulldogs are actually probably the better team as well. If you look at their matchups, I think the Bulldogs are incredible this year.
Well, as we've just discussed, being a better team, while I said that about Jackson State, being the better team does not apply in the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah, being the MEAC team applies, and that's South Carolina State. You look in pain, Bug. What's going on?
Yeah, I fully expected Tug to take South Carolina State because the MEAC does always win it.
Yeah.
And then maybe he gets some of
can't-
that bad juju on South Carolina State. So I'm sticking with Jackson State because I'm not going to change my pick on the show, but I'm pissed now because I would have just ridden with South Carolina State.
All right, a lot of my picks coming up are definitely targeted to try and make up ground on Doug.
Yeah, it's obvious, and I hate you. Sucks.
Not this one, though.
Being in the hot seat. All right, the IS4S, which definitely at a glance looks like the ISIS Bowl.
Oh my
Sucks
God.
that's the
Yeah.
sponsor.
Oh my
That's
God. Oh my
terrible
God.
fucking
No, and then
logo.
you look at the bowl name.
The ISIS Salute to Veterans Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama.
Look, this is a home game. I don't care
Yeah,
what
it's a
anybody
home
says.
game for South
It's a home
Alabama
game.
against Western Michigan. You're going with the Broncos because you hate the Jaguars, I'm assuming, right, Bug?
Yeah, well, and we've talked about it before too. Yes, I am not a fan of the Jaguars. However, I also have friends that
friend.
are big Western Michigan fans. So I tend to lean that direction whenever I have a friend that's a fan of one of those schools. So that's where I find myself this time.
Fair enough. I do think the Jaguars will handle their business, but we'll see. What a terrible name for the bowl game.
Just a terrible logo.
Yeah. I think all of the above is just bad. All right. Moving right along here. The Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl in Frisco, Texas.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Look, there's a lot of Memphis fans really upset about this bowl game because Memphis is taking on a 6-6 West Virginia team, not Western Virginia team. Virginia team. Oh man, we were missing all sorts of things about the FCS here. Ron on YouTube, I apologize for that. We got all the FCS games. Which one did we forget? Let us know if you're still here. Anyway, let me get back to the Frisco Bowl, which ironically is the home of the FCS championship, at least for this year. A lot of Memphis fans are upset about this because it's a very low payout bowl game. It's the tie-in for the American Athletic Conference is wishy-washy at best. And they're upset that we're playing a 6-6 team. Like, Memphis should have gotten a better draw in this game. I agree. But at the same time, let's have a game, our final game with Seth Hennigan down in Texas, close to home. Let him put on a show against a team that I expect Memphis will dominate start to finish. And let's get let's get another 11-win season and on to the next year.
Expect that all you want. I actually think this might be a decent game. But also, you're dealing with a head coachless West Virginia right now. Whether that gets them the requisite interim head coach bump or it gets them a bowl loss is yet to be seen. I am picking the Tigers, though.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Tigers. I think they're a better all-around team. It's definitely going to be I don't think they're going to run away with it. But West Virginia's been so hit or miss, and you really don't ever know what team you're getting. Whereas with Memphis, you can generally assume you're getting a pretty solid all-around team. That's why I'm riding with Memphis here.
Yeah, and just to not stick on it for too long, but the way that Memphis turned it on against Tulane, we saw this with them last year midseason. It's really hard for that to get turned off, and I think they're going to carry that momentum into this game, and that's why I think they are going to handle the Mountaineers here. Time will tell, though. I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
You see those hearts next to Bug's head? That means that's one of his favorite bowl games of bowl season. Tug only has two favorites because he hates bowl games. But the rest
Tug
of
only
us
has
have
two favorites because he meant
multiple.
to go back and fix it and definitely forgot to go back and fix it in time.
Yeah, it's because you hate bowl games. That's why. We know the real reason.
No.
You're a bowl season hater.
God.
This is the Boca Raton Bowl's actual logo. I know it looks blurry. This is the one that they literally gave me the file for. So fuck the Boca Raton Bowl. Your logo looks like dog shit.
Did you email them and ask them for their logo?
No, it's on their website and media, like available
Okay.
downloads. And this is the actual logo, and it looks blurry as hell. What's going on? I bet their logo on the field doesn't look this blurry. Fuck you, Boca Raton, Florida. Also, it's Western Kentucky against James Madison. The runners-up of Conference USA against the divisional runners-up, I guess, of the Sun Belt. Didn't make it to the Sun Belt championship game. James Madison Dukes. I don't trust Western Kentucky.
Yep.
So
Bingo.
I'm taking the Dukes.
That's fair. I think Western Kentucky is better than what they've shown. And
I
That's the
agree.
problem.
That's why I
That's
don't
the
trust them.
problem.
we talked about why they got dismantled in their conference championship game. I think they're going to have a little bit of extra time. They're going to come back from this. They're going to get ready for this Wednesday night matchup and take care of business against JMU.
They absolutely can. The issue is
Yeah.
same as West Virginia. It depends what team shows up, and flip a coin and both sides are wrong. Like that's what Western Kentucky has been this year.
Heads, JMU wins. Tails, the Tops lose. All right. So the LA Bowl, the AOS Art of Sport LA Bowl hosted by Gronk will be between the Golden Bears of Cal against the Rebels of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Now, Cal just had their quarterback transfer away, which you would think would mean I should pick UNLV. Here's the thing. UNLV just lost their head coach to Purdue. And Cal just hired a new offensive coordinator by the name of Brian Harrison. So combine Auburn and Cal's powers, you're going to get a low-scoring game of potentially like 14-10. And I'm gonna take the Cal Bears.
One caveat that aside
Okay.
from Boise State, nobody has really slowed down UNLV's offense, and they still have their offensive coordinator as far as I'm tracking. I'm going to ride with UNLV here.
UNLV has been impressive start to finish in ways that nobody's expected. They've taken care of business in the face of adversity already this season. I'm going with UNLV despite Cal basically having a home game here.
The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl down in Caesars Superdome. Georgia Southern against Sam Houston. I was very close to making this one of my favorite bowl games, but I limited myself to 5, as you will see later. I'm going with the Eagles here. I think this could be a very close game and an awesome matchup.
I love this matchup. And for me, what this is going to come down to is, like you said earlier, Doug, defense travels, and Sam Houston has, for their 2 years up at the FBS, had a very solid defense. I think that's what's going to be the difference in this game. Not that Georgia Southern's not capable. I'm just going to put a little more faith in that Sam Houston defense, and I'm riding with Sam Houston State.
Georgia Southern's burned me too many times to not go with them here.
Valid.
That's how I feel. It's crazy how often I pick against Georgia Southern and they end up winning.
Yep.
All right, the Staff DNA Cure Bowl down in Orlando, Florida. The MAC champions versus the Conference USA champions. Ohio against Jacksonville State.
Go Cox.
I flipped a coin.
And honestly, I couldn't go with all one team. I could not open this for us to be skunked on this or memed. So I did take the opposite here for contrarian sake. But again, for me, it's just neither of these teams is so far ahead of the other that I have to pick the same way. These teams are very close, Doug. I think you're on it when you said, hey, I flipped a coin. That's kind of how you could have done this.
This is one of your favorites, Bug. What are you excited about most here?
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, for one, some of my favorites are looking at the matchup. Some of my favorites are looking at the bowl game itself. This is a game that Memphis has played in, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. And obviously, the Cure Bowl, something very personal to me. You see, I'm wearing pink myself. My mom's a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and she's also survived oral cancer as well. So, Cure Bowl, find a cure for cancer. I love that. Love that cause. So, this is one of those bowl games that it's a feel good cause here for me, and I get to say go Cox. So it kind of works out. Wrap it all in one.
And it's 2 conference champions of conferences that don't get to play each other that often.
You
So,
can't say you enjoy wrapping it all in one, because I know for a fact you don't do that.
Jeez.
I think you
Moving
can
right
say that.
along. That was pretty good. The Union Home Mortgage
Let's
Gasparilla
check that
Bowl,
off my one for the year.
Tulane against the Gators of Florida. We are all going with the Florida Gators here, projecting the big fall off for Tulane, ending the season 0-3 in their last final 3 games.
It's not so much predicting the big fall off for Tulane as it is for me in seeing Florida capitalize on a much better end to the season than the start. They've definitely taken strides forward at the end of this season. They look a lot better at the end of the season. I project that to continue while Tulane is in a little bit of a flail, coming off 2 big losses. So you kind of got 2 teams trending opposite ways. I'm going to go with the team trending up.
And you might be wondering why I didn't say fuck the Gasparilla Bowl for giving me a blurry-ass logo again. Here's the thing. They didn't. This is one I had to go find manually because they didn't provide a logo at all. So extra
for
fuck
completely
the
other
Gasparilla
reasons. Yeah.
Bowl.
For other reasons, but also same result.
Give me a non-blurry logo, damn it. All right. Moving right along.
I will also throw out here what I've said all year about Florida still applies. They are better than people want to give them credit for. And yeah, Tulane has fallen off.
This is potential for Florida to become an 8-win team this season when people were projecting they wouldn't even make a bowl game. Crazy. All right, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, a home game, literal home game for the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina in their home stadium against the Roadrunners of UTSA. And we're all going with those Chanticleers.
Yeah. Not much more to add to that. It's a home game.
Makes sense to me.
And UTSA is playing on the road. They're not playing in the Alamo Dome. They're losing this one. Pretty. I don't even need to make a cock joke. That's just this is facts.
Makes sense to me. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl in the blue Smurf turf of Albertsons Stadium.
Gross.
The potential future football-only member of the Mountain West Northern Illinois Huskies against future Pac-12 member Fresno State. Wild storylines here. I'm going with the Huskies. I just feel like they are the better team right now.
That's where I'm at, and they have a much bigger, like, not that we're comparing this for playoff purposes, they have a much better win on their record than Fresno State does. So they can piece it together, and that's what I'm looking for them to do here.
I just kind of refuse to pick NIU. I think everybody's been super high on them because they beat Notre Dame at one point, and that doesn't really move the needle for me. But people still like, oh, look, NIU did this cool thing, and then they put together a 7-5 season. So I'm going to go with Fresno State here because, yeah, NIU pissed me off, and all the hype around them, undeservedly, in my opinion, pissed me off. So
that's fine. Be a hater.
Yeah, this 100% haterade.
The Hawaii Bowl down in Honolulu. One of my favorite matchups of bowl season here. The Bulls of South Florida against the Spartans of San Jose State. We are all going with Ken Niumatalolo's San Jose State Spartans. However, the USF Bulls love to play very hard, at least for the first half of games. If they can survive past that, usually they do pretty well. but this is quite a long travel for a team from South Florida,
Yeah.
especially compared to a team who played in Hawaii already once this season, being San Jose State.
With the
They're
coach
like one
that's
of those-
from Hawaii, I think they're getting that
Right.
boost there as well. That's why I'm going with San Jose State at least. South Florida, again, I'm happy they made it to a bowl game. I think that will help them, kind of long term. But they've underperformed in so many different ways this year too. I'm disappointed with the season they put up.
A little bit, definitely. At the same time, 6-6, 7-5 was kind of the season I envisioned for them anyway.
Fair.
So underperforming to the extent that I thought their defense was going to be better than it was, and their offense would be more consistent than it was.
Yeah.
But the end result ended up being about what I expected anyway. Just two fun teams here to me.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Very fair on that. Let's move on to the Games Above Sports Bowl game at Ford Field in Detroit. This is on Thursday, the 26th at 2 p.m.
Now, if this game is unfamiliar to you, your delicate sensibilities, remembering bowl seasons past, that would be because it's a brand new name sponsor for this bowl game. It used to be I lost it. I had it. The Meineke Car Care Bowl or something stupid.
Yeah. There's some car-related thing at Ford Field.
Yeah. Always has the MAC champion, or not champion, assuming they make it to a better bowl game.
The
They have
Quick
a
Lane
MAC
Bowl.
team. Quick Lane Bowl. You're right. I know you just looked it up, but yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then some assortment of other team playing a MAC team. This year it gets to be Pitt against Toledo. Unfortunately for Pitt, this is like the worst possible outcome for them based on how their season started.
Mm-hmm.
Playing in the Game Above Sports Bowl against Toledo. Practically a home game for Toledo. This is like 40 minutes up the road for them. At the same time, Pitt's the better team.
Yeah.
Gotta go with the Panthers, right?
Yes. Concur.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty obvious choice here. Rough draw for Toledo, but hey, if they pull off something crazy, they'll skunk the shit out of us.
The Rate Bowl used to be called the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, but as Ben Franklin once told us, the only things guaranteed in life are death and taxes, and not rates. So the Rate Bowl it is.
He did, in fact,
Rutgers-
specify rates in that quote, by the way.
Yes, he said, especially not guaranteed is the Rate Bowl at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. Direct quote from Ben Franklin. Dude was a genius. Rutgers against Kansas State. We're all going with the Wildcats.
It's not
against-
played at Rutgers. Therefore, Greg Schiano Rutgers magic does not apply.
Okay. One theory. Understandable. Have you considered applying Big 12 logic to this game? And now Rutgers
God.
will
Oh,
dominate
no.
us.
No. There's one game where Big 12 logic applies in this postseason.
We'll see.
Because I saw this matchup and was shocked that I saw that matchup.
We shall
Obviously,
see.
this one, but I'm very interested to see if Rutgers is able to do something magical here. I think Avery Johnson has had a fantastic season. He's had some slip ups. I don't think he's going to slip up that way against Rutgers. I haven't seen it from their defense.
I agree. 68 Ventures Bowl. So close to greatness.
So close.
Also, yes, you do have to see the first 67 Ventures to understand this bowl game.
The other ventures are the other bowl games that are going on before it.
And final joke at their expense. Put your damn logo on your own damn website, 68 Ventures Bowl. Holy shit. I had to go find a picture of last year's logo to use for our slides because you just straight up don't have a logo anymore. You literally just have the black text 68 Ventures on your website and nothing else. This is stupid. And
No,
you
it's
need
fair.
to change this about yourselves. if they put it up now, it's happened within the last couple of days because I swear to you, I looked multiple times.
It's in the middle of it now, but at the top, yeah, it's just the 68 Ventures Bowl in black text.
So, fuck you, 68 Ventures. Arkansas State against Bowling Green. I still like the Falcons and not a Butch Jones guy personally.
Same.
Yeah, but they're champions of life. So
They're champions of
which
life,
means
but they will not be champions of the 68 Ventures Bowl.
you can't be champions of two things at the same time.
Yes, you can.
No. Champions of life eliminates you from being champions of the 68 Ventures Bowl. Disqualified. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl.
Hey, Air
at
Force is
M.R.G.
in this
Carter
game.
Stadium.
Oh, no, they're not. My bad.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Literally don't know what time this game's going to be played just yet. This is a TBD on Friday, December 27. Only TBD that we have right now, unless they announced it yesterday or this morning.
I am seeing 11 a.m. as of right now.
That
is disgusting.
That sucks for both teams, gotta be honest with you. So this is Oklahoma against Navy. We've already talked about Navy a bit in this show. We're projecting that they will be coming off a loss to Army heading into this bowl game. Oklahoma still riding high from their 24-3 win over Alabama, in my eyes, which is what got them to be bowl eligible in the first place. I expect the Sooners will play their hardest in this. Also, it's closer to being a home game for Oklahoma than they've had in a bowl game in quite some time.
That's
fair. I'm going to give this one to the Sooners.
This is almost embarrassing for Oklahoma to be in this bowl game. You want to talk about a conference that doesn't normally accept bids to games like this? The SEC, like this is wild to have an SEC team in this game. I honestly don't know how they're going to do against a triple option. And I think that's what's going to get them. That's
part of it for me. The other part of it for me is just Navy as a whole has been more consistent all around this year. I know they it feels like they've fallen off. They really haven't. They just had a couple games with their quarterback. This should be Navy's game. I think they're going to be a more consistent, more well-rounded team going into this game.
I actually lied. There's one more TBD that I had in these slides, which is the Birmingham Bowl. I think what happened was they were deciding which one would be like the noon game, which one would be like the 3:30 game.
Yeah,
I bet that's what's happening here. So because that one said 11, this will say 2:30 for you.
2:30. Yep.
Yeah. So Birmingham Bowl coming after the Armed Forces Bowl. So perfect. Got them in the slides in the right order at least. Georgia Tech against Vandy in this game. I love this matchup so much. There are so many great storylines here.
I almost took this one as one of my favorites too, but there are a couple others later that I was like, I can't not take those. So I had to let this one slide.
What a great match. Like, there's nothing better to say. Like, Vandy got bowl eligible. Good for them. Apparently, the key to beating Alabama this year is to be 6-6.
Yes.
Correct. And Georgia Tech,
which is bad news for their bowl opponent later.
Really? And Georgia Tech's been a fun team all year. Started off hot, kind of cooled off where we expect them to be. They're still on an upward trend. I'm going to ride with Georgia Tech here long term, but I'm happy for Vandy.
So Vandy does have some experience in beating ACC Tech schools this year, in beating Virginia Tech. And
I had to think about it, but I pieced it together pretty quick.
Georgia Tech does have experience losing to SEC teams this year in 8 overtimes, specifically to Georgia. If anything like those two games happens here, we're getting an incredible one, and I kind of don't care who wins at that point. I'm picking Georgia Tech. I feel like they're probably the stronger team in the trenches. I love Diego Pavia, though, and that whole storyline with Vandy this year.
This last game?
Yes. Probably.
This should be Diego Pavia's last game. Jerry Kill is at Vanderbilt as a consultant. I expect when Pavia leaves, he probably will too. So this might be the last hurrah for Vanderbilt football, and I'm going to go down with the ship if they do lose. But I think they stand a very good chance in this one as well.
It should be a good game.
I really hope that it is. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl down at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium.
Ben, could this have been a better bowl poll for you?
This is
in your favorite
awesome.
Stadium with one of your favorite teams.
I fucking love this.
Say it with me here.
Whooping. Guaranteed to have the lowest attendance of any Liberty Bowl ever, simply because there's a giant hole in the fucking stadium right now. Hopefully it doesn't keep too many people away, but certainly there's a ton of Arkansas fans just in the Memphis area, and Texas Tech fans travel pretty well as well. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. I wish I could make it out for this one because this looks like it would be just every bit as fun as seeing Memphis play against Iowa State last year.
Is this the first time Doug's picked Arkansas this year?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I'm proud of you. It's been a while. It took you a while to get here, but
it's been a minute, but I've been right every time I was picking against them later in the season.
Hey, nobody wants your logic. We just want you to pick Arkansas.
I would also like to point out that Arkansas's win over Tennessee certainly is why they're in this bowl game right now. And Sam Pittman was on the hot seat because they were so bad to start the season. And here we are in a once very prestigious bowl game, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
And I think it can be prestigious again. Make the Liberty Bowl great again. It's my slogan.
I'd put it on a hat.
I'll buy it.
We've got a nice little run of favorite bowl games here. The DirecTV Holiday Bowl, no longer in the Holiday Bowl. It's in Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. Syracuse is against Washington State. Now, Washington State started the season incredibly hot, kind of fell apart at the end there, and now their quarterback is transferring. Syracuse started off very hot. Then Kyle McCord started throwing a bunch of interceptions.
As he's known to do.
May or may not be playing in this bowl game. However, the group of guys who will be playing had an incredible season for each respective school. This is like the best possible scenario for both teams this year, being at 9 wins and 8 wins respectively. People were thinking they would probably be about bowl eligible, but come on, these are pretty special seasons for these two schools. I'm just excited to be part of the celebration of their success this year. I kind of don't care who wins this game. I'm picking Syracuse because I had to pick a team, and I feel like if Syracuse gets everybody back to play in this one, which is still possible, then it would be the Orange. I already know Washington State's losing a couple of guys to the portal before the game. Either way, I just have really enjoyed watching these two teams this year. So to see them come together is awesome.
All right, so work with me here. You guys told me earlier you cannot be two champions, or you cannot be a champion of two things at once. Well, Washington State is not the champion of the Pac-2. Therefore, they can be the champion of the DirecTV Holiday Bowl.
They can.
Additionally, they're not playing in the Carrier Dome. Wazoo all day.
Syracuse won games that weren't in Carrier Dome.
Yeah, but I have a lot more faith in them when they're at home than when they're on the road.
I mean, yeah, so is everybody.
I'm also going with Syracuse for what it's worth.
The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl in, you guessed it, Las Vegas, Nevada. Features Texas A&M
in the room
against the University of Southern California.
I really just like this matchup here. I think it's gonna be a fun matchup to watch. I think these teams are a little bit more. I think the teams are a little bit more evenly matched than the records show, but I also think Texas A&M is a better program all around right now. So I'm gonna ride with Texas A&M. I just love watching two powerhouses go against each other like this, especially when it's not in a bowl that they would consider matters.
Man, Texas A&M had a chance to be a 3-loss conference champion in the SEC and fighting for potentially getting that bowl spot because we know they would have pumped their ranking up to make sure they got in. I think they will still have something to fight for, and that's what I expect them to come out with in this game against USC. However, Doug, you're going with USC. I don't blame you for that one at all.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to come out of here not giving a shit about this game. But here's the difference. USC will already be on like their third quarterback. And if Lincoln Riley does anything well, it's coach backup quarterbacks to random bowl game success. So you're going to see like a 400-yard performance out of this kid who will throw for a cumulative total of 120 yards the rest of his entire football career. So USC will win this game in a meaningless matchup for both schools. They will forget ever having played this game in 3 months' time, but USC will probably win.
Moving on, we got the Wasabi Fenway
shit.
Bowl in Boston, Massachusetts, of course.
Oh, God.
Saturday, the 28th at 11 a.m. UConn
no.
versus North Carolina. You're freaking out. You picked UConn. Go ahead, Tug.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I made this pick, I didn't realize Bill Belichick was going to be the coach of North Carolina.
Yeah, he's not going to be coaching this game.
No, but you know he's going to be in the stands, and the entire stadium's going to lose their mind because Bill Belichick's out there again. Even if he's just in the stadium.
Sure.
The
How's that
entire
going to affect
region
this
of
game?
New England. It's just the home crowd's going to be in favor of...
Well, okay, fair. It went from being a UConn home game to now it's a North Carolina home game.
Yeah.
Okay,
We got there. We got there. Yep.
I get it.
Does this change my calculus? Absolutely not. I still think UConn can pull it off. They've had a surprisingly good season. North Carolina's had kind of a questionable season at best. I'm going to favor UConn here and still ride with them. But yeah, this changes the home game, and that does a lot.
And I think UConn sucked these nuts.
Got him.
Hey, North Carolina is only here because they beat Minnesota randomly in week 0 when they really shouldn't have. So, congrats to North Carolina. Also, I don't trust UConn to win anything ever, even if they are 8-4.
Valid.
Unless it's women's basketball. And this, last time I checked, is football.
All right,
I'm
Doug.
also going with the Tar Heels.
Doug.
Second straight bowl game in a baseball stadium, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl up in the Bronx.
You made a critical mistake. This might have felt like a home game for Boston College, but I guarantee you they're going to have no friends.
Neither's fucking Nebraska.
People in New
gives a
York,
shit about the
people in New
Huskers.
York will root for Nebraska at the bane of Boston College.
Yeah, people will travel for Nebraska too.
People will travel for Boston College a little bit.
Nah, we spit on Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. Not if... Okay, whatever. Not like Boston College has any fans anyway. I'm going with the Eagles because I think the better team is the actual answer, not because I think it's a home game. I think Nebraska's fucking bad.
Also
I
a
agree
valid
with you
take.
that Nebraska's bad, but I think Dylan Raiola does elevate them at times, and I think this will be the first time on a bigger stage for him to really prove what he can do, and I think he's going to go out there and do it.
Bigger stage being the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl is just hilarious to me.
I mean, bigger than playing fucking Purdue in the middle of fucking October.
Not bigger than playing Ohio State in Ohio Stadium. So that was his real coming out party when they played it to a 1-score game.
Valid.
There you
go. The word hard pronounced. New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque. The Raging Cajuns of Louisiana will be playing the Horned Frogs of TCU. I don't love either team in this matchup, to be honest with you. I think this is actually a really tough game for both schools. I think I'm going with TCU, in part because I feel like I haven't picked TCU all that much, and they still somehow made it to an 8-4 season. And so I want to respect them a little bit here.
That's fair. I feel like we really haven't talked about TCU much this year at all, and they had a sneaky good season, at least from where we're sitting. I'm going to ride with the Raging Cajuns, though, and that's partially just a group of 5 bias, if you will. So I'm going with the Raging Cajuns. TCU is a bit of an unknown for me this year.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the Raging Cajuns as well. They're put up a really good season, and I'm going to expect them to cap it off here. This game, to me, looking at both these schools means just a little bit more to the Raging Cajuns, and that's going to carry something. Sorry for the hiccups I all of a sudden have.
You should
Drunk bastard.
It's terrible. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, yet another bowl game in Orlando, Florida, in Camping World Stadium. There will be a new flavor of Pop-Tarts mascot this year.
Ooh.
3. There will be 3 flavors of Pop-Tarts mascots.
3 total.
Ooh.
1 new flavor that I think either is like one of the new ones they just came out with this year, or it's like a brand new flavor entirely. I'm not sure exactly. They're kind of keeping it close to the chest a little bit on what flavors the mascots will be because they're all going to be edible yet again. Anyway, this is one of all 3 of our favorite bowl matchups of bowl season because, of course, it is. It's the Big 12 runners-up, Iowa State, against the ACC third place Miami Hurricanes.
The second team out of the playoffs, if you will.
I think both of these teams are phenomenal this season. One of them has a Heisman finalist that will be invited to New York. And the last time I saw a Heisman finalist get invited to New York before his bowl game, like one of my favorite Heisman finalists get invited to New York before his bowl game, he got really fat and decided not to play in the bowl game anymore. And that was Troy Smith.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As of right now, Cam Ward is playing. He has not transferred. He has not,
right.
I
mean, he's gonna
declare
draft. Yeah, I don't even think he is eligible for another season, is he?
No.
I'm sure he would find there would be some.
Yeah, eligibility rules are made up now.
Yeah,
Cam Rising's going to play next year, so
I do.
No, Cam Rising's going to tell us he's playing and be injured for half the year again,
and get another medical red shirt.
Yep,
beautiful.
So Cam Rising was in the same high school class as Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Iowa State this season. They feel like a really solid fundamental team, something that Miami kind of doesn't feel like to me, as much as they have an offensive line coach as their head coach. They've relied on literally hero ball from Cam Ward to win anything at all this year. And if he plays at 70%, they will get blown the fuck out. So I'm picking the Cyclones.
Yeah, but I'm expecting this to be another close game with Miami down through the first 3 quarters, and then Cam Ward to play hero ball and somehow squeak out a victory here.
Very possible.
I've seen Rocco Beck play in a bowl game, and I was not impressed. So I expect that trend may continue here, and I know how good Cam Ward is, so I'm going with Miami.
Yeah, when he was a true freshman last year.
Shh.
Fuck you. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice.
I can't believe nobody.
By Dre and Snoop.
I'm not going to lie to you.
On the CW.
I almost went Arizona State. I looked at it was on the CW and flipped my pick.
Good thing, because Arizona State's not playing.
I meant Colorado State. There's too many states in here.
Miami of Ohio will be playing the Rams of Colorado State, who Bug's been hating on all season, but they're 8-4.
Shocker that I'm taking Miami, right?
Can I go ahead and say
but we're all taking Miami, so.
Can I go ahead and say I'm surprised this is still the Arizona Bowl with Snoop sponsoring it and not some illicit drug bowl?
I'm sure he was censored to some extent.
Yeah, he got gin and juice in there. He can't be that upset.
Right.
I just
Right.
need to know, are we getting a halftime performance of Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg?
I think he is the halftime performer.
Oh, fuck yes.
I think so.
All right,
This
setting
might be one of my favorites
setting a
now.
reminder and recording it on my TV. Copy.
The Go Bowling Military Bowl. Go bowling as in the literal 10-pin bowling lane bowling. They sponsor bowling lanes across the country, and they're
And
sponsoring
bowl
a bowl
games.
game, which is a different type of bowl. Very fun. This is a traditional North Carolina rivalry here. East Carolina against NC State. I think both teams are going to come out hot because they haven't played each other in a minute, and they both really fucking hate each other. I'm going with the NC State Wolfpack, but I think this is going to be a really fun one, and was very nearly one of my favorites.
This
Yet again, there
Yeah.
were some games a little bit later that I was like, I have these. You know, I only had so many favorites. We didn't want to put favorites on all of them. This one was also, you know, kind of like that very next tier for everything you just said. NC State definitely underperformed this year, did not meet expectations, but this is the perfect bowl game for them to be in because, yeah, who cares about the Military Bowl? They care about this opponent.
Right.
agreed on all fronts. This is me picking a team that I somehow fly under the radar with and somehow get right a lot of times, which is why I pick Eastern Carolina. Could burn me here, but this is one of those random teams that I like to pick, and it somehow works out for me. So I'm going to ride with Eastern Carolina.
Next up, the Valero Alamo Bowl.
This game, I'm surprised they matched up these two teams. This is a Big 12 matchup, and I know they try to avoid conference matchups.
It is a Big 12 matchup now. Here's the thing. Because the Pac-12 dissolved all of a sudden so quickly, and the bowl games themselves didn't really have time to negotiate new agreements, all of the old Pac-12 teams kept the Pac-12 bowl tie-ins. So Colorado got to the Alamo Bowl as a Pac-12 quote-unquote team, and BYU got into this as the Big 12 representative. So as much as possible, they tried to fill traditional Pac-12 bowl slots with former Pac-12 teams, and this is one of those.
And we did not get to see this matchup this year, which
Correct.
I think would have changed the trajectory for both of these teams, and potentially,
right,
we would have had Colorado in the Big 12 championship game, or even BYU for that matter.
So I'm going BYU. You guys are both going with Colorado. Here's my theory. Shedeur is projected to be a first-round pick at quarterback. Travis Hunter is projected to be potentially a number 1 overall pick. Shiloh is going to go in the first 4 rounds of the draft somewhere. Why are they going to play in this game? Do you think they really care about the Alamo Bowl? Do you really think Deion Sanders cares about the Alamo Bowl?
I think based on their culture, everything I've seen come out about it, yes. It's the way they've been talking about it. It is finishing the season, finishing the story. And this is their last college game, which the way these guys have come through the ranks, I think it actually means something for them.
Maybe.
The reports I see coming out give me no doubts that these guys are going to come out and put on a show. Are they going to come out, play good football? Maybe, maybe not. That's not what I said. I said they're going to come out and put on a show.
Sure.
And for that reason, I'm going to go with Colorado.
Yeah, I'm not going to restate everything you said, but I will say if it comes out there not playing, I wish I could reserve the right to change to BYU, because that's really what this hinges on for me.
I will say Deion's already had a press conference where he said all of his players will be playing. Nobody is sitting out the bowl game.
Fair enough. Even still, I'm going with BYU. I do think they are the better team, regardless.
Yeah, but Colorado's the more fun team right now for
Fuck
storyline
that.
reasons only.
They are the more fun team for sure.
Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl in Independence Stadium in Shreveport.
Is this really the American champion auto bid Bowl, or did we modify the tie-ins because Army?
I'm actually not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any tie-in for this, honestly. But regardless of that, Army's going to beat Marshall. This is
the American champion
yeah.
against the Sun Belt champion.
Interesting.
So.
Okay. All right. It is the auto tie-in. So this rotates. That's really interesting.
The American tie-ins are fucking stupid, dude.
No, so for this one specifically, it rotates. So it was supposed to be this last year. It was Big 12, Pac-12. This year is supposed to be AAC and Pac-12. Back to your reference bug, Doug, earlier with the Pac-12 screwing everything up. And then in next year,
we had Army against USC, is what I'm hearing.
And then next year, the tie-in is Big 12 Conference USA. So this one does rotate through.
Interesting. But yeah, we're all picking the Black Knights. Marshall doesn't have a head coach right now. Actually, they kind of do, but he's never been a head coach before, so fuck it. The Trans Perfect Music City Bowl down in Nashville, Tennessee. The Iowa Hawkeyes in a very boring season for Iowa standards, going against
somehow also their average season.
Yeah, going against the Tigers of Missouri, who fell short of preseason expectations, but still had a 9-3 season. Very nice for them.
Just as good as Alabama.
Yep. We're all going with the Hawkeyes, though.
Yeah, I'm not picking Mizzou without a gun to my head. So, despite the fact that I did it once this year,
even with you had a gun to your head, you might just pick Iowa anyway, despite the person put a gun to your head.
Doug, you're also going with the Hawkeyes. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one.
The ReliaQuest Bowl here in Tampa, Raymond James Stadium.
Who knew, and Doug, you might want to block your ears for this, who knew that beating Ohio State was going to be the end of Michigan's season, in that they are now greater than 6-6, and therefore Alabama will win this game?
A rematch of one of the semifinals last year in the ReliaQuest Bowl.
I'm just enjoying the fact.
You know what?
I'm enjoying that.
Props to the ReliaQuest Bowl for having such a big matchup. Congrats.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I almost took Michigan, but I also think they don't give a shit, and they're just going to start getting ready for next year anyway.
This is a game of, you guys remember that South Park episode where the kids are trying to lose like the Little League games and they just keep winning accidentally?
Yes.
I mean,
this is what this matchup is.
Roll Tide.
I don't think that really fits, but okay. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Louisville will play Washington. ACC Big Ten. Wild. Imagine going back in time 10 years and saying this would be an ACC Big Ten matchup.
Look, I'm just happy that there's a bowl game that close to where I'm going to be moving. I'll be able to go to the Sun Bowl, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl every year for the next 3 years. I can't wait.
Hey,
nice.
Before you buy those tickets, let me know.
I mean, yeah, of course.
And if you ever want to come up to a Tech game, let me know.
We are all picking the Louisville Cardinals in this matchup because the Huskies have not been good this year.
Correct.
They did not get the lose your coach boost through the whole season.
Yeah. And the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, another bowl game in Camping World Stadium in Orlando, because everybody wants to have their bowl game in Orlando, apparently, for some reason. This is the Gamecocks of South Carolina against the Illinois Fighting Illini. We are all on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Cox!
Go Cox!
I can't believe it, actually, because Illinois, I think, is going to put on a show in this one as well.
Yeah, but show, as we've already discussed, does not mean good football.
Yeah, it does in the case of these two teams, though, this year.
Yeah. Here's my biggest thing. I trust Lenore Sellers and what he's been able to get going with this offense. Rocket Sanders, I like a lot more about this South Carolina offense than I do about the Will Altmaier-led Illini offense. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. I think the defenses are kind of a wash when you put them next head-to-head against each other there. I'm putting it on a freshman quarterback, but I think the Gamecocks got this one. This is going to be an exciting matchup. Way easier for me to pick than I thought it would be.
Me too, actually, because, man, I really feel like Illinois might have a shot here, but South Carolina's been so good on both sides of the ball right now, and
they've just gotten better as the season's gone on.
Counterpoint, though, South Carolina did just hire Mike Shula as their new offensive coordinator, so they'll run with a lot of 3rd and 7s now.
Something about that name just makes me smile.
Gross. Let's move on. The Kinders Texas Bowl just got a new name sponsor for the Texas Bowl in NRG Stadium in Houston. Baylor against LSU. It is in Houston, so it's kind of in between both of these schools, actually. It's kind of cool. And I think a surprising season for both teams in opposite directions, right? LSU, a lot of us projected LSU to be a playoff team, and instead they're 8-4.
Hey,
and then a lot of us projected Dave Aranda to be fired, and Baylor's 8-4. So
he's another one of those coaches that wins enough games to not get fired every year. No more, no less, just enough.
I think LSU is going to have a hard time getting up for this game. And I'm picking Baylor.
100%. That said, I think LSU has more talent than Baylor. Baylor kind of looked around like, how did we get here? Yep. LSU, they're looking around, how did we get here? The opposite direction. Yep. They're better, and so that's why I'm going to go with LSU here.
All right, no comment from Tug.
I mean, I agree with what you guys said. I don't want to add more to it.
He's taking LSU.
Same logic for me here in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Duke against Ole Miss. Both teams 9-3. Same situation. 9-3 out of the playoffs for Ole Miss. Feels like a disappointment. 9-3 barely inside the top 25 in some polls is a huge win for Duke. I'm going with the Blue Devils. They're going to be up for this one in a way Ole Miss will not be.
I'm in the same boat because I look at this, and when Ole Miss is on, they are on, right? They almost look unstoppable out there, especially offensively. Lane Kiffin has that offense. Again, when they're rolling, that offense seems almost unstoppable. That doesn't happen every week. I feel like the season's been and feels like a disappointment both to Lane Kiffin, the team, and the fans. I'm going to ride with Duke, who's riding a high right now.
Jackson Dart is finishing what he started. He will play. He has said he will play in this game. He is the best passer in Ole Miss history, past Eli Manning in the last regular season game of the year. That is alone why I'm going with Ole Miss here. Along with, I felt like a good opportunity just to go opposite of Doug, and I had a feeling Tug would also go with Duke here for all the reasons you just stated, and I thought this was probably a good opportunity to get a game on you guys.
It's valid.
Fair.
It hurt a lot taking Ole Miss, don't get me wrong.
I'm surprised it's not upside down.
Yeah. The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl down in Gerald J. Ford Stadium. Not the president, Gerald Ford.
That's Gerald R. Ford.
Different Gerald Ford. Fuck you, Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, for not having any alternate color options for your bowl logo. It has to be black text, and on black slide, I had to put this gaudy white background for your logo. Sucks.
I just flashed the blind side. I hate you. Because, of course, there's that orange there, too.
Yep. This is the Mean Green of North Texas against the Bobcats of Texas State, playing in Dallas, Texas. Very nice all-Texas game here.
This is the real Texas Bowl.
Right. Definitely. I don't trust the Mean Green.
I don't either. But I'm a
But
bit
you
of
also
a
hate Texas State,
I'm a bit of a Texas State hater.
which is wild to me. I don't understand it. I love Texas State. The past 2 years have been really fun for the Bobcats. I'm all in on Texas State.
I have loved North Texas the past 3 or 4 years. So I mean, this is a culmination of a couple things here.
These are two teams currently going in opposite directions. If you ask me, the Mean Green are on the way up, going into the next couple years. Texas State's probably going to take a step back in the next couple years. I'm going to pick Texas State to capitalize here on what is the
Based on
upside
what?
of their 4-year. It's the 4-year cycle, man.
North Texas has been on the way up for like 7 years, and they've never really actually gone up.
Yeah, they've been on the way up for 7 years. They finally got 7 wins. Next year will be 8 years, 8 wins. We're going all the way, baby.
No, we even said at the beginning of the year for Texas State, I don't know. I forget what we said. Like I said, I feel like this is their year to make that statement. Look, guys, I'm tired at this point. I expect Texas State to make their statement, ride this one out on a high, and then go back to the normal Texas State that we're used to.
Fuck you all. Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I can't wait to see PJ Fleck covered in mayo.
Minnesota against Virginia Tech. Yeah, we're all going with the Golden Gophers.
Row the boat, baby. Row the boat through that Mayo River.
Oh.
Mayo game day be delicious.
If I could have taken a broken heart for least favorite bowl game, just one, it would be this game.
Yeah, because you're a hater of all things enjoyable in life.
One of the best condiments in life, yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
You disgusting. I can't even speak. It's so heartbreaking. All right, the Bahamas Bowl.
They're playing they're playing Virginia Tech. I don't know that we explicitly mentioned that. Minnesota is playing Virginia Tech.
The Bahamas Bowl, the only bowl game that's not in the United States. This is in Nassau in the Bahamas. Buffalo will be playing Liberty.
Liberty Bibberty. Look,
yeah.
I had a feeling Tug was going to take Buffalo as well, which is it's a big part of why I went with Liberty here. I know they've got some coaching things potentially shifting, moving going on there.
Yeah.
But I like what they've put up this season. I would love to see them finish on a strong note, whether it's Jamie Chadwell's last game there or they get the boost of losing their coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's been any movement on that, actually. There was talk of Jamie Chadwell going to UCF, then UCF did hire Scott Frost back.
And he's bringing Mackenzie Milton as the quarterback's coach.
Right. I think as of right now, Chadwell will be staying, but it's obvious that he's flirting, which does kind of hurt the program to some extent as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Bulls. And they've been one of those under the radar 8-4 teams for us as well. We haven't picked them as often as we probably should have.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. This team was way more in the MAC conversation than we gave them credit for, frankly.
Liberty have a canceled game for the Hurricane, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Against Appalachian State. At Appalachian State got canceled. So now comes the part where we all throw our heads back and laugh because it's time to look at our preseason brackets.
Please don't look at mine.
Ready?
No.
We will shortly. We'll start with Bug, though.
I went with a bit of a meme board here. Yep. I'm not going to lie.
You went with it. Hold on. It's the Oklahoma State for me right now. Sorry.
Yep.
That's what you're laughing at? Out of all this?
UCF.
I'm not I'm not surprised with the Memphis love. Not surprised with the UCF semi love.
Missouri as the AP champions, by the way. Crazy.
It was the only way I could get them in there for Memphis to knock them out. It hurt, but I had to do it.
Man. You will be getting points for Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, and Oregon making the field.
Let's take a look at yours.
I also had Oklahoma State in the playoffs, and Florida State in the playoffs, and LSU,
LSU,
and Ole
I
Miss,
did too.
Utah,
and Memphis. Oh gosh, dude!
and somehow you still had the best bracket of all of us,
I actually put Georgia as the correct seed
which is
somehow
amazing.
too.
Yeah.
So I will get points for Ohio State making the playoff, Penn State, Oregon, Georgia, and Notre Dame.
Which you had on the correct side of the bracket, just the wrong seed in that first matchup.
Yeah,
Not
Pretty
bad.
good.
so
Not bad.
interesting.
Whew.
And then Tug here.
I at least didn't give
Picked-
Oklahoma State the bye.
You had
Correct.
a national champion with 2 wins.
You picked the worst Power 4 team in the country as the national champion.
I bit off on the preseason hype. I'm sorry.
You gave Liberty a playoff spot.
Yeah, against LSU, and that side of the bracket played Florida State. That is crazy how wrong that ended up being. I know we were all wrong on things. That's the worst side of the bracket. Any bracket.
Oh yeah, no, that
I
bracket.
will. I will also say we didn't talk about it a ton. I'm gonna go back to yours real quick. Props to you. You called it. We had a non-Power 4 conference champion getting the bye. It
Yeah.
wasn't Memphis, unfortunately, and had Memphis gone undefeated, I still don't know if they get it. I really don't. But
I think the only
mean,
reason Boise State got it is that dude they have playing running back, that monster.
Gene T
Yeah, Ashton
probably helps
Jeanty.
that SMU lost too, but that's a different discussion.
They were already ranked higher. They were ranked 3 going into that, I think.
So, Tug, you will be getting points for Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, and Clemson.
That's all I deserve. You guys are being nicer to me.
Hey, at least our actual brackets can't get any worse.
Are you sure about that? I am going
geez.
first. I am not going to lie to you. I made a couple moves here. One in particular on the bottom left that I want to see happen because it would be fantastic to see Ohio State run this gamut and be our national champion. So I guess I'll start there. I do have Ohio State running the table and becoming our national champion this year. Going through the rounds, I have Ohio State taking out Tennessee in the first round at Ohio Stadium, the first ever game played in December at Ohio Stadium. Thank you for that fun fact, Doug. Sorry to steal it from you. Texas looks like they've got a whole shot. They're taking on number 12, Clemson, at home, but the Tigers have already surprised us once in that game against SMU. And I trust Dabo Swinney to rise to this moment here. I think he's going to take care of business, and Clemson's going to pull off the upset of all upsets in the first round of the playoffs. Going to the other side, Notre Dame might be hosting Indiana, and certainly could be argued that Indiana doesn't deserve to be here because they didn't have to play the better teams in the Big Ten. But I'm going to go with the Hoosiers here. They put together something special. Notre Dame isn't that intimidating of a place to play. That's why they regularly lose to these MAC schools at home, because the environment there isn't that incredible. It isn't that tough. Yes, it's a home game for Notre Dame. There's going to be plenty of Hoosiers fans that show up there as well and might actually swing the crowd in their favor at times. That might be pushing a little bit. Let me walk that back a little bit. Notre Dame's the team in Indiana, but I could see Indiana pulling this one out for sure.
In-state rivalry. Weirdest one we've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. The last game we have here, SMU dropping down to that 11 spot. They're going to have to travel to Penn State, who is calling for a whiteout.
Oh, that's game. God damn it.
It's a whiteout. It's SMU's game to lose at that point. Penn State whiteout, it's supposed to be super intimidating. It never works for them. So that sets up our second round quarterfinal matchups. Ohio State and the rematch against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
In a classic Rose Bowl matchup.
A classic Rose Bowl matchup. It's going to be beautiful to see. Oregon, I don't want to say they got lucky in that first one. It was a back and forth game. I think Ohio State's had time to look at what they did wrong. They'll make those corrections. They'll be able to execute here and get the job done this time against Oregon. The Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl taking place in Georgia. That will be Arizona State and Clemson. I I don't want to be a hater on Arizona State because certainly what they did has defied all expectations anybody had for them at the start of the year. That said, again, we're looking at playoff experience. I'm going to look to Dabo Swinney to get the job done. Going back to the other side, Indiana, great win against Notre Dame, but when it comes to the All-State Sugar Bowl, that is Georgia's game all day long, and Georgia's going to take care of business with ease as the number 2 seed and advance to our semifinal. And then the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, where it all started for Boise State many moons ago when it was the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Love everything about it. This was I don't remember if they had the bowl games associated with the picks when they released the bracket. I don't think they did. This had to have been intentional to get Boise State back in the Fiesta Bowl. It's pure poetry. I don't care how manufactured it was. And we get the battle of 2 horses, but I am going to go with Boise State here. They're going to maintain their dominance in the Fiesta Bowl and get to that semifinal. For our semifinal matchups, that means we have Ohio State taking on Clemson in either the Orange or Cotton Bowl. We don't have those depicted on here because we don't know which
they
ones
aren't decided yet.
Yeah, they aren't decided. So
I think if it is Ohio State Clemson, I think that would end up being the Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
most likely is my guess.
Yeah, because Georgia would be the highest remaining seed. They would take.
They would want the Cotton
Bowl.
Yeah.
That said, another classic playoff matchup that we've seen a couple times, getting to see that matchup revived here. Ohio State against Clemson. Clemson has gotten the better of Ohio State a couple times. Ohio State getting the better of Clemson here is what I'm picking. A really poetic run through the playoffs for them, which, beating Tennessee, really not poetic for Ohio State. It is for me, damn it. And they are going to face up against Georgia, who's going to take care of business for Boise State. Going to have a respectable showing there, potentially push a couple overtimes because we've seen the cracks in Georgia's armor, and I do think Boise State's going to be able to exploit that. They're not going to have enough to overcome it. And like I said already, Ohio State's going to win the national championship to get their loss back from the last time they faced off against Georgia in the playoffs here. And we will crown Ohio State our 2024 national champions.
2025.
Yeah, fuck you.
Slide.
Looks cool. All right, so I didn't expect anyone else to pick Ohio State. I'm doing it because I'm an Ohio State fan and because this is my dose of copium. This is the closest I will get to a national championship this year, so I'm taking it. I really don't think this is going to happen, but fuck it. There's technically a chance. So, Ohio State beats Tennessee, gets the revenge on Oregon, gets a nice rematch of the 1997 Rose Bowl in the semifinal against Arizona State. That was a field goal game back in 97. I expect this one will be a little bit more of a domination by the Buckeyes if they do get to play Arizona State again. Other than that, pretty dang similar to Bugs here, only on the first round side of things, I'm going with Notre Dame over Indiana. I'm going with Penn State over SMU. I think in the snow up in State College is going to be a little bit hard for the Texas boys to be able to handle. But Boise State wins the Fiesta Bowl because of course they do. And then loses to Georgia eventually. Although, honestly, I'm up in the air right now on whether Georgia actually beats Notre Dame in that Sugar Bowl. I think Notre Dame's a legitimately great team, and Georgia doesn't feel like it at times. We'll see who's actually healthy and ready to go. But right now, I have Georgia and Ohio State in a national championship because I would love a rematch of a couple years ago, that 51-52 game. I would love some revenge, personally. This is a revenge bracket of sorts. I think we've already slain the Clemson Dragon, so I'm getting a rematch with Arizona State instead of Clemson again.
That's fair. There we go.
All right, you guys kind of killed me here because I let you guys go first. So I had to make 2 picks here, both involving Boise State, to differentiate my bracket even just a little bit. Number 1, I have Boise State beating Georgia. So again, first 4 games, I'm almost the only difference I have from Doug is I got Texas over Clemson, and then Arizona State I have beating Texas in the second round. Everything else, Notre Dame over Indiana, Penn State over SMU. In the second round, Ohio State over Oregon, Arizona State over Texas, Georgia over Notre Dame, and Boise State over Penn State. This is where we start to get fun. I still have Ohio State going to the national championship. Wanted to pick Ohio State. Noticed you both picked Ohio State and decided I wanted and needed to be just a little bit different so we didn't have the same dose of copium all the way around.
Man.
So I have Boise State beating Georgia in a surprise. And then Boise State on the coattails of Ashton Jeanty following it up and bringing home a national title right before they leave the Mountain West to go to the Pac-12 next year. Look, the key here for Boise State for this to even be possible is Jeanty needs to stay healthy and continue performing at the level he has been. Georgia, while solid up front, has not been as good defensively throughout the years I would have liked them to. They definitely shown some weaknesses in that armor, and that's kind of what I'm predicting is going to happen here, especially with a back as impactful as Jeanty. Is this a long shot? Yes. If I were making my actual predictions right now, I would put Ohio State up top, winning this game, probably Georgia in there. I just wanted to get different from a Georgia-Ohio State national championship. Love it, but I'm tired of seeing either of those teams, and definitely both of those teams against each other in the playoffs and in the national championship. So I went way off the rails here to have some fun.
I will tell you right now, if we get a Notre Dame Georgia matchup, I'm probably taking Notre Dame. And then if we end up seeing Boise State against Notre Dame, I'm 100% taking Boise State.
There is a path.
And I think that is probably more realistic for Boise State to get to the national championship. And then it becomes a coin toss because you really don't know how things are going to go. I don't think this is as far-fetched as
it looks.
Maybe you think it is, or maybe some people, like you said, maybe some people will think it looks. I don't hate this.
I do hate that we're all basically taking Ohio State to run the table here because that definitely will not happen, and it's going to be painful as hell.
Dude, you say that, but there's only one team Ryan Day can't coach against. We'll leave that time for a different day. Ohio State is still probably the most talented team in college football.
Okay, so here's my legitimate thought about this right now. We had about a 6-year battle with Clemson to finally get over the hump. We kept losing to them. Urban Meyer lost to them. Urban Meyer got shut out by them. Ryan Day lost to them in games that he shouldn't have lost to them. We finally took out Clemson. I think that might happen with the team up north next year, the year after. There will come a time where we finally slay the dragon and Ryan Day overcomes the issue. However, we've really just started with Oregon and with Georgia, where I expect the same exact thing will happen, and we're going to lose the next 5 times we play Oregon before we have any chance of beating them. Same with Georgia. So I'm fully expecting us to come out the shoe and it be a home game for Tennessee because fuck Ryan Day and everything's going to fall apart for me.
That has been you say that has been a legitimate talking point of the heat on Ryan Day is so hot right now. Having a home game for Ohio State might have been the worst thing for them.
And I would say for me, if like seeing Ohio State fans talk, the calls for his head will only get worse unless they can pull a national championship out of it.
So there's an article that I shared from 11 Warriors, which is an independent Ohio State media site. If you're unfamiliar, anyone listening, fantastic news coverage of Ohio State athletics. There was an article published by 11 Warriors that I shared in the Discord. I said it's a good 15-20 minute read. Take your time with it.
Definitely is 15-20 minutes. I did read it. It's
There is a great quote, because I'm sure not everyone in the world has been able to check it out yet. And if you're stumbling on the show for the first time, join the Discord and go find that. But also, there's one particular section where they talked about how it's been fantastic that Ryan Day is as open about his struggles with mental health as he is. And there is a real thing here where the discussion of his father's suicide when he was a kid has really opened the door for Ohio State athletes to feel comfortable approaching their coaches with issues, and we get to solve problems before they become life-threatening. And we've already seen that happen, where we've saved a couple lives because of how open Ryan Day is about this discussion. There is another side to that coin, though, where now you have a head coach who's openly talking about how losing the game to the team up north the past couple of years is equally as detrimental on his mental health as losing his father when he was 8 years old. And while I agree that it probably has been, because it affects his entire family and his kids are getting ridiculed at school for this, and his livelihood is threatened every moment of his life because of these games, you can't say that. Because imagine the kicker lining up for another field goal when he's already missed a couple. Imagine that crosses his mind, either I make this field goal or I am going to inflict emotional damage on my head coach, the equivalent of his father killing himself in front of him when he was 8 years old. Now, imagine trying to make that field goal.
Yeah.
And there is an issue with the way Ohio State's being coached right now that can't be overcome by traditional understanding of what it means to be coached in football. So either Ryan Day comes up with some new leadership philosophies unknown to mankind just yet, or we need a new head coach. And I would lean towards we're going to need to get a new man in charge to actually take this program to the level it wants to be at.
All that to say, we still have to make actual picks for these games.
Bug, I love how you said all this about Indiana, and then you're going against your bracket to protect yourself. Great move.
100%
Yes.
I'm going against my bracket to protect myself, because this game, I do legitimately think it could go either way. We've seen Notre Dame underperform at home in IU. And I do think Indiana is a very good football team. I think Notre Dame probably is better. And, touchdown Jesus in December is going to be pretty freaking awesome too. So it's tough to pick against Notre Dame. Y'all, of course, didn't on your brackets. I'm not going to here.
Yeah, I just can't bring myself to pick against the Fighting Irish the way they've been playing the past several weeks. Right. Even as good as Indiana has been. And I know there's been a very telling comparison right now of the only common opponent is Purdue. Notre Dame beat them like 63-7. Indiana beat them 66-0. They're basically playing like the same team, right? At that point, you can't really make any inferences.
You can't tell.
So I'm going with the home team, who I feel like is stronger on both sides of the ball right now. It is Notre Dame, but yeah, this has potential for. I mean, it could be a very fun matchup here.
Next
and
up,
then Saturday,
we have SMU and Penn State on TNT or Max.
And nobody on this side is protecting themselves. We are picking as the brackets are called.
Incorrect. I am picking Texas.
That's right.
In the individual game matchup, I have Clemson in the bracket and Texas here. This is a weird matchup for Texas, and I don't love it for the Longhorns. At the same time, I do think overall the Longhorns are probably the more talented team. And depending on which offense shows up here, Texas has a really good chance of winning or a really bad chance of winning. So I'm giving myself both options. in the bracket and here.
And I will throw out here as well. I almost went and protected myself in SMU Penn State, but seeing that neither of y'all did that as well, I decided to ride it out with SMU and really take that chance, take that opportunity to get a couple points on you guys. For all the reasons I said, it's a whiteout. It's not been
Hey,
Penn
and
State's specialty.
I'm rooting hard for the ponies against the pedophiles.
I forgot you were sliding that in there somehow, so to speak.
Yeah.
No, he means what he says.
SMU and Penn State will be on TNT or Max at noon. Clemson and Texas will be on TNT or Max at 4, so directly after that Penn State game. And then on the nightcap, ABC, ESPN will be Ohio State and Tennessee. Speaking of which, before we go back before we get into these discussions, this is going to be the first game on Friday at 8 p.m. at Notre Dame Stadium, not broadcast on NBC since like the 60s, I think, maybe even earlier, because it is the playoff game. It's going to be on ABC and ESPN. That is wild.
I'm surprised that TNT pulled some of these games. I haven't heard them with college football in forever.
I was just about to say the reason TNT got any of these games at all is because this was part of a trade that Disney did with whoever owns TNT. ESPN got to air a lot more NBA games, and they gave TNT 2 first-round college football playoff games in exchange.
What a
TNT won that deal.
I know.
Yeah. What is ESPN? Is Disney actively trying to kill ESPN? Like, I've heard that in the past, but
it seems like it.
What do we think? I mean, we all had Ohio State winning. We're all picking them here. So I kind of want to go back to this matchup. What do we think Tennessee's actual chances are of winning this game? Do we think that the crowd may shift against the Buckeyes, specifically Ryan Day, and maybe that's going to be the X factor? Or are we saying that Tennessee really kind of getting into that realm of maybe they don't belong here?
So it's I was going to say,
ahead.
it's not that Tennessee doesn't belong here. My assessment is it depends on what Ohio State defense shows up. Ohio State's going to put up points against Tennessee. I have no questions about that. Tennessee's offense, as we've seen early in this year, can go and put up points and put them up quickly. It depends what Ohio State defense comes for me.
That is the exact opposite of
what I'm
opposite
thinking.
of everything I'm thinking about this game. Ohio State has the number 1 defense in the country in basically every metric. I fully expect Tennessee will have a hard time breaching 14 points. If they score more than 3 touchdowns, fire the entire defensive staff. Whether or not we can move the ball at all will be determined by what combination of offensive linemen we get in this game, because it will be a new assortment of offensive linemen because everybody keeps getting hurt all the time. We don't have our center. We don't have our left tackle that we started the season with. We have a backup center in a third-string guard. We still have Tegra Tashabla in at guard for some reason, even though he's the worst guard in Ohio State history. I hate it so much. Donovan Jackson is supposed to be an All-American left guard. He's been forced to play left tackle the past several weeks. He's held up okay. Will he do that against a considerably more talented defensive line in Tennessee than what he has had to face in the past? When we played a talented defensive front like this in Penn State, we would triple team on Donovan Jackson's side. I don't know if we'll have that luxury in this game. The reason I have hope that we will have that luxury is because Tennessee's corners are ass. So we can probably push the ball down the field, but we need time to do it, and I don't trust our offensive line that much. I think this is very possibly a 21-14 kind of a game. And Ohio State will win.
I'm looking at this, and like I said, there is kind of that weird X factor of, what's going to happen with the home crowd? Are they going to turn on Ryan Day? Okay, cool. We've talked about it. What I think is more likely going to be the issue for Tennessee is that the stage is going to get too big for Nico Imalieva. And I don't know that they've played a defense as good as Ohio State or even really comparable, right?
Nobody has. Ohio State's the #1 defense in the country.
Right.
So
He was unable to get the job done against Arkansas. Georgia had their way with them as well. And even the Alabama game, yes, they won it, but that game was way closer than it should have been.
and we've seen the struggles that Georgia has catching the ball. They were able to push the ball down the field against Tennessee at will.
Yeah. So I'm more leaning towards Ohio State's going to out-talent Tennessee in this one, at least this year. If we were to see this matchup in 2 years, depending on who, how some of the changes go, or even if we just get a 2-year future Nico Amalieva to show up for this game, maybe that changes things for me. But right now, I don't think that Tennessee has it all to be able to get the win here.
As long as we don't try to run it up the middle against Tennessee, thinking that that's the only way we can move the ball for some reason.
I'm not an Ohio State fan, and the play calling was pissing me off. So, and I don't want to, salt the wound more than we already have on this show the past couple of weeks, but
yeah,
my God.
I was in the stadium and very much hating the play calling. So, great time. All right, folks.
Doug, to answer your question from earlier, it is over 2 hours.
Correct.
You got some links there for us, Doug?
Yeah, we have our patreon.com/BTFootball, twitch.tv/Big Dudes in the Trenches, all one word, x.com/BTFootball, facebook.com/BTFootball, Instagram.com/BTFootball, /BT_football, correction, BTFootball.com, mailbox at BTFootball.com, YouTube.com/@Big Dudes in the Trenches. In our Discord link will be linked with the rest of these in the description below. Sorry, guys. Still not doing it. Thank you for listening.
You suck. Hey, why can't Santa say the alphabet?
Why?
Because there isn't well.
Okay.
Do you want another one? Do you want to try and get the next one?
Yeah.
Where do little trees go to become Christmas trees?
Ooh. I don't know.
Elementary school.
Oh my God. Doug, do you have anything else?
That is so bad. That is so bad. Oh man. All right. Well, yeah, parting shots for me. Just want to say that I am I'm throwing Mike Jacobs' name into the ring as Ohio State's next head coach. And go Mercer.
Is Mike Jacobs an alum of Ohio State?
Yes, he is. He was an offensive lineman for the Buckeyes, 97 to 01. And then
Jay
the head coach of Notre Dame, Ohio, the D2 school, and then Lenore Ryan, and then now in his first year as head coach of the Mercer Bears.
Nice.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. We will see y'all next year. Tug, take us out of here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching and or listening. And just remember, you can't win a game if you can't win in the trenches.